welcome to episode 12 of the Amb Ant Podcast. I'm Anthony.
And I'm Amber.
And today we are talking about the first movie of the film trilogy, Berserk Golden Age Arc.
Yes. Berserk 黄金時代編1.
Please like, comment, and subscribe for more podcast reviews like these.
Indeed. So, what was this about?
Berserk is about a guy named Guts, who is a mercenary who apparently was not tied to any band, and people thought that was weird. He ended up joining this band of mercenaries called the Band of the Hawk for however long because he lost a duel with the leader, Griffith. So...
Well, right now we saw him joining them for 3 years.
Yeah,
right now.
so he joined them for 3 years and then some. Then, there's a war going on as well, so they're just mercenaries hired to defend the
Midland.
Yeah, so just they're in this kind of empire.
Yeah. Basically, it is what happened here. We see their friendship blooming, Griffith and Guts. And then Casca, which is we don't know if she's love interest or anything. Well, I know because I read the manga. However, yes, Casca. And then also we kind of get to see Griffith's ambitions in kind of entering the higher society of this empire.
Yeah. So we just get to see how things kind of play out. This kind of reminded me a lot of certain video games Mount and Blade Warband. Gave me really just the siege was done exactly like how the sieges is done in the game. This came before it, so I don't know what came first, but or if
what came first was medieval history.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it is all based on what was really what it was actually like in European countries back in the day. So
right, and then you got Mr. Fantastic Hulk.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that was also in medieval history.
Hulk and Minotaur
and then he just flies. I don't know. To me, this one seemed a little weird. How did you feel about it?
Honestly, I am a Berserk manga stan through and through, and I still think that Berserk, Golden Age arc, the arc of the manga is one of the best stories I've ever read. I remember reading it back in the day and then just feeling so much for it so that I just cannot stop talking about it and oh my god, the feelings I have for these characters.
Right.
And
I think you've been trying to get me to watch Berserk or read Berserk or anything relating
read
to
Berserk especially.
Yeah, you've been trying to get me to do that.
He chose this arc is the best arc ever, and then he chose the worst out of the three mediums to consume this, and I was oh god damn it.
I just think that
the 1997 was okay. I like that way more than this. This again, to answer your question, how did I feel about it? Oh god, it was, to be quite honest, just boring and bland, I would say.
Yeah, it felt boring, kind of bland.
Bland.
We saw a lot of blood, a lot of gore.
Even with all that bloodshed, it was bland. That means something, guys.
Yeah, I mean, so you see a lot of scenes of Guts going around, cutting down people, chopping them in half, and he's generally strong. Then you see Griffith, he's
even stronger, actually.
He's even stronger. He's some kind of special dude.
He's not physically strong, but nimble and uses brain.
Yeah, so
Guts is a swing sword.
Yeah, Guts is really strong. Yeah. I mean, aside from that, I didn't really get much from it. I don't know anything from the manga or anything like that. Yeah. So from this one, I would they just go around. It cuts the scenes cut weirdly as well. you can't really follow the flow of the story. Yeah, the pacing's all off, and then like artistically it's all right, I want to say. 3D animation is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, for me, it's just like the main issues I find is like the style, the lack of like minor character engagement, and then the pacing. Like, the style, first of all, it's like the 3D animation just made everyone look so similar. Like, their facial expressions are all very similar, and they're super non-expressive. Like, that's what I hate the most about 3D animation, I feel like. And also, like, there isn't enough power in the motion that they, like, kind of, like, do, like, swing the big sword, right? And then, because, like, everything is so smooth, so then nothing is comparatively more impactful. And then this whole movie just felt like that. So then I was like, oh my god, why is it like this? And I don't really like how it went with the more, like, adult and melancholic approach. Because, like, even with the character designs, like, first of all, Griffith seemed a lot more feminine than, like, what we saw in, like, 1997's version or just the manga. And then, like, everyone looked a lot older. The thing is, like, you don't know, but then, like, if you compare it, like, they look 10 years older than what they looked like back in the day. And then I don't like that. It just made it look a lot more mature. I guess, like, fitting with the mature themes and, like, you know, the fighting and whatnot. But then, like, back in the day, it was just so much more energetic with the music, too. Like, the music was, like, new electronic, like, synthing, and like, just, it sounded so strange, but then, like, it was just adventurous and, like, exciting to watch. And then this, I was just like, oh my god, everything was so, like, done in a safe way and, like, I don't know, just, like, a generic way. It's like, I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of generic stuff here. I feel like the blood and the gore and stuff, like, that was, I don't know, like, when I really dislike something, I can't really find words to describe it. Because, like, thing is, I really, really, like, I put hundreds of hours into, like, Mountain Blade Warband, and I put hundreds of hours into, like, just, like, these like, Skyrim as well. Like, I saw literally basically a picture of a city in Skyrim, like, in one of the movie scenes, right? When they were showing the castle, or the kingdom, that was like city in Skyrim. Basically, I really like that kind of setting, and despite that, I could not really, like, I just did not care about anybody except for Guts here.
Yeah,
Griffith was too weird to care about, and then
he is too weird in this to care about. But he was so much more, like, childlike, like, mischievous, right? Oh my god, I cannot English. Mischievous, and, like, just, he seemed a lot more, like, friendly and lively in, like, 1997. I remember the whole, like, was it in the anime? But, like, in the manga, at least, like, there was, like, the whole, like, bath scene, and he was, like, trying to splash water, and, like, it was even drawn in, like, the comedy style. Like, I remember that they would do kind of, like, the chibi art style for, like, funny scenes. There are no funny scenes. Like, there is no, like, contrast in tone. Like, the tone is just, like, serious, melancholic, philosophical throughout, and that bothers me a lot.
Yeah, it's just that also kind of bothers me, where the tone is, I don't know, like, I like serious stuff as well. It's just like how you do it is, I guess, matters. I think this one was just kind of a flop. Just overall, the effects are okay, I guess, for the time. I mean, you have to understand, this is 2012, right? So, I mean, for the time.
2012? Come on. 2012? It is basically the same age as the first season of Attack on Titan. Look at the fucking...
Well, I mean,
like,
the budget or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's a new studio or whatever. So.
But, like, you know, do you remember, like, back in the day, like, watching the first season of Attack on Titan? Like, the maneuver, like, how they, like, flew between the buildings was so cool.
From what I remember, Attack on Titan Season 1 was actually a very massive hit. Like, it was a massive hit.
It was so cool.
Because it was so crazy. The animations were so crisp and clean, like, back then, right? For back then standards.
And it's like the same time. And then this, I'm just like, oh my god. Like, how can you do this?
I figure, well, studio difference. And also, like, this one was maybe not as anticipated or something. Like, it
is.
I saw the Wikipedia for this, right? Like, it didn't make anything, basically.
Yeah. The thing is, like, negative. I feel like it is very much so anticipated in the circle, like, of, like, Berserk fans. Because, like, I mean, it had, like, an adaptation before. And then, like, everyone was kind of like, oh, yeah, it's gonna adapt it again. However, first of all, people were disappointed that it's just adapting the part that was already adapted. It didn't go, like, after it. And then it's like, oh, well, as expected, because, like, the Golden Age era is, like, the best. But then it was just, like, the 3D animation is janky. To be quite honest, I just feel like Japanese 3D animation, like, even today in the 2020s, I still think it's very janky. Like, I don't understand why. Like, it is worse than Chinese animation, for sure, for 3D. I'm baffled. And then, like, this just feels like a cheap game.
It feels cheap,
like,
yeah.
And then I'm just like, why? How can you put this in the theater? And it's just strange to look at, and I just don't like. Well, you did yourself a massive disservice by choosing the movie and not the, like, old anime or, like, the manga.
So the thing is, like, the reason I chose the movie, right, to watch instead of the anime is, like, I just don't feel like old anime is, like, that great, like, animation-wise, right? Because, like, they just don't have the tech. But, so then I would just feel like it's cheap. And then, like...
But I would just feel like... I see the tech in this, like, the camera work sometimes is interesting. Yeah. The light is interesting sometimes. Yeah. And then, like, I kind of like it when, like, the blood splashes on the camera, kind of.
It's
and then,
crazy.
Yeah. But, like, it does that too much, like, the blood splashing on the camera. It did it at least 3 times in the first movie.
And then with the camera blur as well.
Yeah.
The blurring is not great.
Yeah, like, I feel like it's trying to be like, oh, yes, 3D technology.
Yeah,
but, like, that's awkward to look at.
I mean...
It's not done well.
You go back to 1997, they have so much less tech, right?
So but I still feel like difference. It's so much more impactful. Like, I keep on, like, going back to the music, and then the music for Berserk is very iconic. Like, I did my whole... like, undergraduate thesis listening to the Berserk soundtrack. You don't understand. Like, that stuff was potent. Like, the Guts theme, whoever knows, like, oh, yes, you can put that on loop and listen to that forever. But, like, this was just so mediocre. I can't say, like, oh, this was so bad, because, like, I still like the story, despite, like, the fucking, like, pacing, and, like, oh my god, I cannot care for any of the minor characters here. Like, Band of the Hawks, like, they were so friendly and, like, so good. Like, they were so lovable. Like, you know, like, everyone's, like, weapon and, like, their personality. You do not know from this movie.
Right, yeah, so from this one... You barely see any of them, honestly, and then like you mainly just follow Guts around. Yeah. You see Casca, I guess, right?
You do see Judo, like, it's Kazuyuki's voice. You hear it, and then you automatically associate it with, like, all the other famous characters.
Right.
And then, like, Pippin and, like, all those people, like, you know, like... You cared for them, but now I cannot care for them. I feel like that is a huge problem, especially if you know, like, the stakes, like, in the future, I guess. It's like, why? Like, you can't not invest time and like emotion into these characters because like they are important. And then like even the main characters, like I guess like we do know a lot more about Guts and Griffith, but like even Casca, I don't feel like we know much about her.
Yeah, not really too much. We saw her naked. That was about it.
Oh yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
It was like early on, and then I was like, oh, nice figure. Yes.
Great.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, aside from that, like, we didn't really get to see too many of Guts. Like, he just is boring. I don't know. Like, from this one, it seems like he doesn't have any other abilities. There is, like, magic or, like, demons living, like, 300 years old. Yeah. Nosferatu, Zod. It's like, that seemed really out of place. They kind of just squeezed that one in, and I'm like, oh, like, they're raiding a castle. All his men died. He just, like, starts fighting them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, he's just losing. And then, like, it loses even harder. Griffith comes, they both lose together. And then, like, at the very end, the guy was about to smash him. Like, he saw the necklace and he backed out. So it was a little, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like anime these days doesn't really do that anymore. But... yeah.
Well, I do just feel like the pacing is strange because like back in the day it was like a 25 episode thing, and then now it's like 3 movies, and then first movie is actually so short. It's like a little over an hour.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh yeah, let's squeeze in as much important story plot as we can. I feel like they did squeeze in all the important points, but then that was all. Like, there wasn't, like, heart, there wasn't, like, you know, cool and like, quirky, like, character banter. They barely talk to each other.
Yeah, they didn't talk that much.
There's so much politics, and then I just feel like, yes, like, I love, like, the politics of it all, but then I was like, I don't feel the, like, I guess, level of drama that I did back then, and then it was like, oh my god, I hated, like, the uncle of the princess, basically. The count. Like, I remember hating him, and then I remember, like, feeling so bad for his son, because, like, I remember, like, his son didn't just appear that once. Like, he appeared and then he died, you know? Like, in the movie.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, but then, like, no, I remember back in the day, like, he had a relationship with Guts, and then Guts knew him.
What happened was, essentially, Guts, went, like, it was super satisfying when Guts, like, kind of went in and, like, assassinated the Count, and then, but what was really surprising about that when it happened was just, like, he was very, I don't know, he was, like, very shocked that he killed someone, but, like, he was killing people all this time for, like, 3 years. So I'm just not entirely sure why that was happening. Like, he felt, I don't know, maybe even, like, remorse for killing that, and then, like, he went and stabbed the kid accidentally, I guess. He didn't really see in time, and then he felt, like, even worse, and then he just got shell-shocked, like he has PTSD or something, and then I just don't know, like, the character development was a little weird there.
That is super weird. It's
does that
just
happen
unexpected.
in the manga as well?
It did happen, but then again, I remember, like, him having a relationship with, like, the son of the Count, and then it was like, I think, like, they had the whole thing of, like, oh, he really wants his dad to, like, love him. Bless you. Bless the soul.
Really dusty. Oh my god.
Yeah, like, no.
Yeah, it's this.
Yeah, it is this. Yes, we are. Oh, bless the soul. It is, documents here. Sorry. However, it's just, like, I remember, like, it making, like, the audience, like, aware of, like, the relationship and, like, the drama behind, like, oh, the politics. And then when that happened, you feel for him. It's like, oh my god, he knew that the son wanted, like, his father's approval. And, like, he knew that, like, the son was, like, trying so hard to, like, you know, like, learn the sword and whatnot. But then, like, now we're just like, oh yeah, the son is trying to learn the sword. And then, like, oh, he saw murder. Boom, he's dead. And then it's like, wait. Why should I care? I don't care. And then it's like, when Guts, like, showed that he was emotionally affected, it's like, why are you emotionally affected? Because, like, there was no background, there was no context. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess cut that out too. It's like, I guess that's not, like, an important plot point. So the important plot point is that he killed him. So then that was shown. And then it was like, oh, the emotional, like, connection of, like, Guts with his, like, teammates, basically, and with, like, you know, the country that they were serving, like, was zero. I don't like that.
Right. Yeah, I basically didn't get much information about the worlds or anything like that. I get that they're trying to, like, I don't know, like, they're trying to do something. Guts likes money, but it isn't really shown other than the first part. We don't get to see more of that.
No, Guts don't really like money. You like money, so then you focus on that. Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him, like,
wanting more coins.
Yeah, like, he was like, oh, you can't eat dreams. I was like, oh, true? And then later on, he just gets tied to a band of mercenaries. He doesn't really...
Yeah.
We don't see any more of that.
There was no background for Guts. Like, in the manga, they do, like, spell out, like, from the moment he's born. Yeah. Like, I remember so clearly, like, of, like, the corpse of his mother and, like, him just, like, dropping out of the womb and everything. And then, like, his whole backstory kind of created his personality. So then he's like, oh, I need to survive. So then I need enough money. I need enough food to survive. And so I won't tie myself to, like, any ideology. Like, I'm just working so that I can, like, keep on going. That's all. But then, like, here, we just don't see that at all. It's, like, completely cut. I understand this is, like, it kind of started in, like, the 4th or 5th, like, book of the manga. So then it's like, oh, yeah, it is expected. But then, I just don't like such an abrupt start.
Right, yeah. It just feels like, maybe... you just can't watch this one if you're new to Berserk. Maybe you can only watch it if you already know what happens, because it doesn't really entertain too well. It doesn't really explain. It doesn't explain. It doesn't, like, give you I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Like, maybe for the time it was, like, okay, but
no, I don't think for the time it was okay. You looked at the numbers. Was it okay?
Yeah,
it was not okay.
No, like somebody had to, like, approve this, right?
Well, yeah.
Like, you have to. I don't know. Like, you have editors and stuff. Like, somebody would have to approve this. You have, like, whole studio, like, working together to, like, try to make this thing happen. At the time, it was probably acceptable, but I think maybe anime has, like, kind of evolved since then.
But perhaps. Like, I feel like we have this argument a lot about, like, how I like old anime and, like, you like new anime, but then I feel like you always sound like you have a bias, like, oh, new anime is automatically better. It's like, oh, yeah, old, they didn't have the standard. That's not true at all.
Well, I mean, they didn't have the technology.
Oh, well, I still don't think that it means that it is, like, less technical. Because I do feel like back in the day, there were so many good anime directors. And then, like, it's not like, oh, the technology kind of, like, held them back. I don't believe that. Yes, that is my point.
Okay.
But yeah, I just want to say, like, I don't really want to talk about the time of this because I do feel like this is actually relatively recent, especially for Berserk, something that started in the 80s. Like, this is, like, 2012. And then, again, 2012, there were already, like, great works like Attack on Titan, which was just, like, so much better than this. I'm so sorry. It's not just about, like, oh, 3D animation or not. It's just, like, the direction was so strange in this. It was just not written well. The screenplay was weird. And how deep everything was trying to be was, like, uncomfortable. Because I just don't feel like Berserk is a show like that. I felt like back in the day when I liked it, it was, like, fun and, like, gory. It was just, like, kind of, just fun to watch because of how gory and, like, sexual everything was. And then at the same time, it was, like, kind of melancholic and dark. But then it's, like, that kind of contrast made it so much more complex. And then, like, now, if you just, like, keep it all very, like, quote-unquote mature, it's just like, oh, where was all the, like, it's just like all the excitement was sapped out of the work, and then this is what you get. Like, this does the job of telling the story, but that is limited to just telling the story.
Yeah, I mean, this one didn't really, it just didn't, like, the reason I say, like, at the time, it seemed like this was acceptable, is because, like, it was made back then, 10 years ago, which is, like, I don't know, like, I don't know if, 10 years is a lot, of time, right? So, in that time, like, you see, like, this kind of gave me vibes of, like, I don't know why, but, like, Overlord in a bit, like, I know you didn't, yeah,
I'm aware, but
you've heard of Overlord, but you've not watched it
at all.
This is sort of like when the armies were, like, the armies were, like, fighting each other, like the kingdom versus the empire. It's just, I don't know, like, the technology was there. Everything seemed like more real. You had, like, just better, like, camera cuts, and then, like, Ainz was, like, they're just, like, really good, I don't know, magic, and I don't even know where I'm going with this, but it reminded me of Overlord, but just worse. So it's just like, yeah, they also had, like, medieval battles and stuff, right? Like, like, it was just done with better quality, it seems, but yeah.
But I just feel like, the animation just did not do this a good service. Like, again, like,
right.
Because you talk about, like, you like Sword Art Online, and then it's also 2012, and then you always kind of, like, see Sword Art Online as, like, new anime as well, right? And then this is basically the same age. So then I'm just like, it's not really about the year, it's just, like, bad. Okay. It's just bad production. Like, the year does not make it bad. And I don't feel like 10 years is a long time, because when you think about it, oh my god, it felt like a flash. I felt like it was just yesterday when I watched Sword Art Online in my bedroom. It's just, the pacing's strange. Like, you don't know if this is made for people who already know the source material, and then you would just feel like this is boring. Like, I've already heard about the story. Why show me again when there's, like, better modes of showing me? Like, I would just read the manga, and then, or just watch the anime. Anime was okay. Like, they did cut out a lot of things, I must say, but then it was, like, acceptable.
Yeah, didn't they have, like, didn't you, I don't know, we talked about this in a previous podcast, I'm not sure when, but, you like the anime that kind of shows, like, the story as is, instead of, like, random non-canon stuff? So yes, this one's is sort of like that, right? Which is kind of story.
Exactly. Yeah. But then this is just literally telling the main plot point. And then this feels like so a study guide.
It skips.
Yeah.
Right.
It feels like a study guide for the... Yeah, exactly. It feels like the Cliff Notes for the story, rather than, like, it's written with, like, all the literary techniques and all the, like, juice in the story. No, it was just like, this happened, and then this happened, and remember, these characters are, like, this relationship.
Right.
Politics, remember that shit. And I was like, okay, yes, I understand. I remember the story now. But then, like, that's just strange to watch.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just... Like, I've heard bad things about it, and then I'm just like, oh, I feel like it's a bad thing. Like, because I see also some people, like, getting into Berserk from this. I cannot fathom getting into Berserk from this. I would be so confused.
Yeah. I mean, this just, like, this one kind of... I mean, I wasn't really interested in Berserk before. Still kind of am not.
Don't worry, I will still force him one way or the other.
I mean, it just, this one kind of just concerns my theory that, like, I kind of enjoy the newer stuff, that, like, the animation kind of hides a lot of the poor story telling. So, like, I'm not saying, like, maybe it's a great story, but you can't.
Please use 2D animation when Berserk gets adapted again. Oh my goodness, like, it got adapted, like so many times.
Right.
Like 1997, this, like the trilogy, and then 2016, and then 2017.
Yeah, do you know if it's popular?
They were so bad. You don't understand. The 2016 and 2017 is 3D animation, but worse. Like, it looks like a bad game.
Maybe it just, like, if it was adapted this many times, is it a problem with every single adaptation, or is it a problem with, like, how the story is?
I feel like it's the problem with adaptation. I completely think it's just the technology.
So it would be...
Don't do 3D animation with Berserk anymore. Stop.
Right, so you're just blaming the studio every time.
There are 3 different studios.
Right, so you're blaming every single one of them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
I have to say, like, I blame the animation, and then I just still feel like Berserk is one of the best stories I've ever read. Like, I just feel like it was so well written, and the pacing was really good. I can see why it took, like, 30-something years, but then only has 300-something chapters.
Yeah, so, I mean, okay, we talked about God of High School before, right? So, in, like, episode whatever, previous episode, right?
9.
Yeah, podcast. So, in that one, I believe... the manhwa of God of High School was adapted pretty terribly to the anime, right? I don't think it's anyone's fault. It's just that, like, the storyline is a little, I don't know, complex, and, like, it's hard to tell.
To be squeezed into that.
So that's why in God of High School there's a lot of cuts, like, randomly to,
yeah, then it's like, if you want to put it that way, then I'm not putting the fault on anyone either, right? Yeah. So then it's just like, oh, it's strange to, like, kind of squeeze it into, like, movies as well.
Yeah,
because
so
it's
just that, like, when you try to make, like, manga, or, like, sometimes when you try to make, like, a light novel or a manga into an anime...
it works or it doesn't work.
It doesn't work out.
Yeah.
It doesn't, yeah...
Like, it tried different things, right? It's like, it tried being, like, episode by episode. It tried being movies. But then somehow, it's just, like, it doesn't really capture the magic of the manga, which I feel like, the manga is, like, the authentic point of this. It's like, when I say, like, Kimetsu no Yaiba, like, the anime is so much better than the manga. Like, the adaptation is superior.
Right.
But then, like, for this is completely the opposite. I'm just like, oh, why is it, like, being so strangely mature, but so bland? It feels like, I was, like, thinking, like, oh, like, back in the day, like, in history class, sometimes you're, like, forced to watch, like, people, like, play out history, and it's, like, really boring. Yeah. But then you have to watch it and then be like, True. Oh, wow, like, this feels like, you know, a story that I can enjoy. Like, this was like that, and then I felt like I was, like, forced to watch it, rather than, like, oh, I'm so engrossed in, like, these characters, their connections, their relationship. And then, honestly, like, Guts and, like, Kasuka's relationship was, like, one of the better, like, shonen, seinen kind of, like, I guess, like, couples that I've seen. Like, the progression is very natural, but then, like, here, I just feel like I don't really know anything about Kasuka anymore. Like, everything I knew about her was forgotten. And then she kind of felt like a generic woman. Like, oh, she is strong, but not too strong. Because she's a woman, she's looked down upon. That rhymes. And then, it's like, oh, she cares so much for Griffith, and also a little for Guts. And then it's like, oh, love triangle. I don't like that. Like, no, it was, like, way more natural, and, like, it was cute.
Yeah, so basically the anime adaptation was, bad.
For this one. For the 1997, there were other sparks in it. It's like, I feel like the omission of a lot of questionable things, I would not say it, but, like, the omissions were weird, but then, like, the style was cool. Like, the music was just, like, electronic music plus, like, medieval stuff. Like, that was so fresh to watch. And then, like, overall, like, it was just more energetic and more colorful than this. I'm just like, this is just, like, muted the whole way through. It bothers me a little.
And by little, she means a lot.
Yes, a lot. Like, oh my god, I can't believe, like, they butchered it so bad. Like, I remember now, like, I watched a little bit of the movie, like, during the beginning of quarantine, and I couldn't finish it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, if it were just me by myself, I can't do this.
Yeah, same. I mean, I would not.
Yeah.
Berserk, yeah, even though I really like the medieval setting, even though I really like that kind of thing, it's just a little boring.
Yeah.
I'm sure the manga is a little better, but the thing is, like, I tried the manga as well.
But you see, it's like, the whole thing about Berserk is just, like, it's strange to get into. Like, in the beginning, it's like the Black Swordsman arc, and then the Black Swordsman arc has a different set of problems. Like, it was just, his character was not well written. Guts' character was not well developed at that point. And then, like, when it changed into, like, the Gold Age arc, it was just, like, way better. And then, like, with way more, like, complex, like, emotions. But then, like, then you have to, like, suffer through the Black Swordsman arc to get to the second arc. And then it's just like, oh my god, it's a different struggle, to be quite honest. And then this, it just skipped over the Black Swordsman arc. So then you're not introduced to the world with, like, demons, god hands, kind of things. If you know what it means. And, like, when you fucking, like, look at the monster, you're just like, wait, isn't this just, like, medieval historical story? Like, what is this thing, right?
Yeah.
And then,
I think
confusion.
It became a lot a lot more, I guess, what is it, uninteresting, I guess, when we learned that there is, like, magic and there is, like, demons and other races, you know, and, like, and then you learn also that, like, Guts can't do any of that, or at least, like, not yet, or whatever.
Not yet. He gets way stronger.
It's just like
the Berserker armor.
Yeah, it just feels boring, man. Because, like, he just doesn't know anything, and then, like, if you don't know anything about the world, then your character is kind of weak, right?
Yeah.
So then,
but, like, if you were to start with the manga in the Black Swordsman arc, like, he is already at the same level as, like, the God Hands. Like, he can, like, kill the disciples of, you know, basically, like, the religion. And then, like,
right? I think
all
I
these
saw that.
monsters.
No,
like,
I did read that.
Yeah.
Like, I gave it a good shot.
I
saw
trust.
him. I saw him, like, verse one of them and then,
Yeah.
like, kill him. Easy.
So then it's like, again, I feel like Berserk is difficult in that way to get into because, like, the Black Swordsman arc, again, I feel like the character writing sucked. But then you get introduced to the bigger world at, like, an earlier point. Then, like, right now, you're just like, wait, so what is this context? I don't get the situation. Yeah. And, like, you would also have the promise that, oh yeah, he becomes so strong. But then, like, right now, it's just like, wait, he's just a mercenary. He's just a normal dude. And so, like, when he was, like, faced with, like, supernatural things, he's like, boom, he can't. And then it's like, wait. And then it just, like, returns back to, like, the political drama after the monster, too. So it's like, so what was that? Like,
yeah,
what am I watching?
It didn't go anywhere.
It gets to be confusing. And then it's like, I don't know what to believe anymore. So, it's just told in such a strange way. I don't understand the movie. Like, who is it written for? The people who didn't watch it or did watch it? Especially the opening song of the movie. I can't believe they put all the future characters in as well. This does not cover the future characters. Like, the witch, if you know, you know. Like, the Puck the elf. And then, like...
Right,
just the princess, like, no.
Essentially, this one was basically only written for people who already knew.
Yeah,
like, I didn't know anything. I still don't really know anything.
Exactly.
And they don't really explain much. There's a little philosophical stuff in there, but
it's not interesting enough so that you want to know about the philosophical stuff.
Yeah, we just watched this thing, and I already forgot. So
same. I wasn't listening when they were trying to be philosophical, and I was like, I don't know why, but Griffith. I was so into Griffith. I am still very into Griffith. like, I know, like, there's a whole, like, cult of Griffith did nothing wrong meme, but, like, oh, I truly love him. And then, like, now, like, whenever he was, like, talking about philosophy to the princess, I was like, I'm not listening to a word he's saying. And I was like, oh, cool. Moving on.
Right.
Sad guts.
There's just a lot of issues. I don't think we talked too much about the actual movie here. It was mainly with the issues surrounding it.
Yeah.
Like one thing I guess in the movie that like kind of bothered me a little bit was just like Guts going down so easy every time. It's like he has his wins, but it just shows him like kind of being, I don't know, like he should have died like multiple times already here. So it's just
But yeah, you have your thing about very strong characters.
Yeah, I like to see them competent. Otherwise, like, why are we following them?
But Berserk, I mean, Guts, it's so competent. Like, he literally wins everything.
Well, he lost immediately to Griffith, and then like he also lost immediately to the Hulk guy, and then.
But then they're the only people who.
Yeah, I mean.
Literally.
Yeah, it's just that like when he loses like that, like when the Hulk guy had him in his arms, he just gets pelted by some arrows that didn't look like it phased him. It didn't look like it even damaged him. Hulk guy just crushes him right there and like moves on. Right? It's just like.
But again, like in the manga, there were more enemies. And then they cut that out. Like, I was like looking through that. Like, there were more battles, but then they were not plot, like, decisive, basically. And then they don't include that because they're not trying to
Right.
just do the thing.
Yeah, I'm not talking about like that. It was just more of like when I saw that happen, I'm just like, oh wow, you know, like these days that is slow. Like it's a little slow. Like the reaction.
I don't know. I feel like it's just what you watch. I don't agree that it's these days. It's like your genre that you like more that happens. Like I feel like my genre that I like more, I like seeing people struggle. I feel like I've mentioned before, like trauma porn. I kind of just, I think I have a thing ever since like back in kindergarten to see like main characters like get hurt, almost die, and like just, or really die. I'm really into that. So then I feel like I have like a unhealthy obsession with that. So then like Guts is up my alley, but then at the same time, like in the manga, there were like way stronger like enemies that you see, and then it's like, oh my god, how will he even defeat them? And then he defeats them, and then it's like, yeah, satisfying. It was just a lot more satisfying to watch or to read back in the day, and this is like, oh my god, why? This is so bland. Nah.
Yeah.
Will not watch this movie ever again in my life.
Okay, true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Griffith almost dies to like an arrow as well. It's kind of random.
Well, he didn't.
He gets shot in the chest, and then
But then he's basically plotting. They were plotting each other.
Yeah, his little like thing protects him. He would have died right there.
He would not have. Don't you feel like he was plotting and planning the whole time? He knew that the person was gonna kill him, and then he is trying to win the favor of the princess. I feel like that also, it's like because of like how expressionless everyone is in 3D animation, like it kind of contributes to that, because I feel like in the like manga, he was a lot more, oh my god, I want to say a Chinese word, like 机灵. Like, he's a lot more just witty and like sly kind of thing. Like, he was like a fox kind of character, and then he always knew what was going to happen, kind of. So then he always like planned everything in advance. Like this, he's just like, I'm a calm angel. And I was like,
wait, but like, yeah, so this one I actually thought like when the arrow hit him, right? How did he know that the arrow was going to hit him in the place that like the thing protected him?
No, that's just what he said anyways. Like, you can't really, he was the person who was like, oh, I got hit, but I'm fine because luckily, like, this thing just saved me. But then, like, he was, like, aware that the Count was going to kill him the whole time. So, like, even without the thing, I'm sure
did it show that?
Yeah, he always, like, stared at the Count, and then, like, you remember, like, the Count, like, slapped him when, he helped the princess the first time? And then, like, there was, like, a stare down and everything. That's why I feel like it was shown, but it was shown so subtly that it was, like, so, like, just, like, ignorable.
Well,
like,
yeah.
if you read it, you would know, because you kind of, like, oh my god, the tension. But then, like, if you didn't read it, you will just, like, dismiss it. That's why, like, I have a huge problem with this movie. Like, everything is so subtle.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't notice anything like that. But yeah, overall, what would you rate it?
Like, I've thought about it. I want to say, like, a 5. I don't think it is passable. Like, I don't think it... Yeah, it's basically failed in my book. But it's like, oh, I love the story. But why give me the Cliff Notes?
Sure.
How would you rate it?
I mean, originally I was gonna say like 5, but after waiting about like 2 hours or so, and then like already forgetting most of it, I would say like 3 or so. Like, I don't know, 4.
Fair.
Yeah, it was not that great. Would not watch again. Would not recommend.
Yeah, if you want to get into Berserk, honestly, either manga or, like, the old anime. Like, I understand that's like, oh, old anime is so janky. First of all, I completely disagree. Second of all, the pacing is way better, so then you'll feel more invested in the Band of the Hawk. And then I feel like Band of the Hawk is so important for you to get invested in. However, I forgot the people's names through this movie. Like, it is actually crazy. I feel like I feel more detached from everyone in Band of the Hawk. And I'm just like, wait, am I not supposed to love them? Shouldn't I, like, love all the people and their quirks? I forgot about them. I don't like that. Don't do it.
All right. That about sums it up. I mean, this one, probably a no-go.
But, like, again, I root for Berserk so much as a series. So please, please go, like, support the manga and, like, support the old anime, if you will. But, like, don't do this. This is a waste of your time. And don't do the 2016 and 2017 either. It's worse than this. I know. Don't do it. Goodbye.
All right. Goodbye.